Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you're dreaming of Maui, you've probably thought about, well, how you'll actually get around the island.
Right. It's a key part of the planning.
Exactly. And today, we're really zeroing in on one specific strategy. Renting a used local economy or maybe a compact car.
Yeah, it's an interesting option. Our insights today are coming straight from Frank's Friendly Cars, a rental company actually, on Maui.
And our goal really is just to unpack why someone might go this route. Figure out the pros, the cons, and help you decide if it fits your trip.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to look at it from, I think, 4 main angles based on what Frank's tells their customers.
Okay.
First is the basic question. Why a used local car instead of, a brand new one from a big name company?
Makes sense.
What else? Then we'll look at Frank's Friendly Cars specifically, like what's different about renting from them.
Gotcha.
Third, why pick an economy or compact? Why not something bigger?
Good question for an island trip. And finally,
The practical stuff. Pricing, policies, what you really need to know before booking.
perfect. So if you're, in the middle of planning that Maui vacation, sorting out transport, or even if you're just curious about smart travel choices, this should be helpful.
We'll try to boil down the key info so you can make a good call without feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Why on earth would someone choose a used local car in Maui? I mean, you picture vacation. Maybe a slightly older car isn't the first thing that comes to mind.
That's fair. But Frank's Friendly Cars says they hear some pretty consistent things from their customers.
Like what?
Things like, we just don't need anything fancy, or, it's mostly going to sit parked at the condo anyway.
Okay. So the car isn't the main event.
Not for these folks, no. It's more about the destination itself. They also hear, as long as it's reliable, we honestly don't care what it looks like.
They even bring up Warren Buffett, right? The idea that he drives an older car.
Yeah, they make that comparison. It sort of highlights this mindset where your self-image isn't really tied up in having the latest model. It's just about getting around reliably.
And some people actually want to avoid a flashy rental.
Seems so. There's this desire not to stand out too much. They mention customers wanting a car that looks local, maybe helps them feel like they blend in a bit more, perhaps.
That's interesting. Avoids unwanted attention, maybe?
Could be. And then there's the really practical side, the money.
Always a factor.
You hear that sentiment, we'd rather spend the money on something else.
Like experiences.
Exactly. That snorkeling trip, a nice dinner out, the things you'll actually remember from the trip. It's a conscious choice.
So it really boils down to what practicality, being budget conscious, and maybe wanting to keep a bit of a low profile.
I think that sums it up well. It's a very grounded approach to getting around on vacation.
Okay, so we get the general why for a used car, but let's shift a bit. Why Frank's Friendly Cars specifically? I mean, a used car is a used car, isn't it? Or maybe not.
Well, they try to differentiate themselves. They lay out what you can generally expect when you rent one of their used vehicles.
Okay, what are the basics?
You're getting standard stuff, automatic transmission, power windows, power locks, a working stereo. Those are pretty much given.
Right.
They do mention that some cars might have a backup camera or Bluetooth, but it's not a guarantee. So, manage expectations there.
But it sounds like their main pitch isn't about fancy features. It's more about reliability.
Exactly. That seems to be the core focus. They specifically list things like good tires, good brakes, clean inside, windows and locks that actually work, no fluid leaks.
Important stuff.
And crucially for Hawaii, cold deck.
Oh, yeah, that's not optional there.
Definitely not. And they back this up by saying all their cars get regular maintenance from a full-time professional mechanic they have on staff.
Okay, so they're actively maintaining them. That's good to know.
Suggests a commitment to keeping the fleet running properly.
They also mention the age, right? Around 10 years old.
Yeah, they're upfront about that. Gives you a realistic picture. These aren't brand new cars.
And how do they pick them? Do they just buy any old car?
Apparently not. They say they prioritize finding single-owner cars, ideally with lower mileage, and, importantly, a clear maintenance history.
So they're trying to select better quality used cars to begin with.
It seems that way, trying to stack the deck in favor of reliability from the start.
So when you rent from them, you're not just getting a random 10-year-old car. You're getting one that's been, hopefully, vetted, maintained, and have the essential features working.
Right. It's positioned as that balance point. Affordable, reliable transportation without the premium price tag of a new rental.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk size. They specifically push the economy and compact cars. Why go small in Maui? wouldn't you want more space on vacation?
They give 4 pretty solid reasons, actually, tailored to Maui.
Let's hear them.
Reason 1, it's the cheapest option they offer. Straight up budget savings.
Okay, always appealing.
Their thinking is you save money on the car, you have more for, that luau or surfing lessons or whatever. The car enables the fun. It isn't the fun itself.
Sensible. What's number 2?
Fuel efficiency. This is a big one for islands.
Right, gas is usually more expensive there.
Exactly. They point out gas prices in Maui are higher than the mainland U.S. Smaller engines in economy and compact cars just sip less fuel. Fewer stops at the pump, more cash for shaved ice.
Huh, good point. Reason 3.
Parking. This one sounds very Maui specific. They describe condo and resort parking spots as being, and I quote, ridiculously small.
Oh, I can picture that. Tight spaces.
Yeah. So trying to wedge a big SUV in there could be a nightmare. A compact car just makes life easier, less stressful parking.
Definitely adds to the relaxation factor if parking isn't a battle. Okay, and the 4th reason.
It's about suitability for the typical renters. They say for solo travelers or couples, an economy or compact is usually perfectly adequate space-wise.
You don't need a huge vehicle for just 1 or 2 people.
Right. Why pay for the extra size and bulk if you're not going to use it? It's just unnecessary expense and maybe hassle.
They also mention a choice between sedans and hatchbacks.
Yeah, a useful distinction. The 4-door sedan gives you that secure trunk, keeps luggage or shopping out of sight.
Good for security.
But the 5-door hatchback offers more flexibility for loading bigger things. Beach chairs, maybe golf clubs, snorkel gear, even smaller surfboards perhaps. Easier access.
So you pick based on what you plan to carry around.
Pretty much. It depends on your activities.
So choosing that smaller car, especially from a place like Frank's, sounds like a very pragmatic decision. It fits the island conditions, saves money, potentially reduces stress.
Especially for individuals or couples who are maybe prioritizing experiences and ease over having a large vehicle. It's about matching the tool to the job, really.
All right, makes a lot of sense. Let's get down to the brass tacks then. Pricing and policies. What do people need to know if they're thinking about renting from Frank's Friendly Cars?
Well, first off, they really emphasize their all-in pricing. That's always good to hear.
Meaning no surprises.
That's the claim. No surprises, no hidden fees. They say the price they quote is the price you pay. Transparency is key for them, it seems.
Okay, that's reassuring. What about rental duration? Any minimums?
Yes, and this is important. For their used local cars, there's a minimum rental period of 10 days.
10 days. Okay, so not for a quick weekend trip then.
Not for the used ones, no. And you need to book these in advance. They require reservations.
What if you were only there for a few days?
They do mention that for shorter rentals, they can often offer brand new cars at discount rates, sometimes for immediate pickup. So they seem to have options, but the used car deal has that 10-day minimum.
Got it. And pricing, it varies, right? Like hotels.
Absolutely. They're clear that Maui car rental rates are seasonal. Your dates and how long you're renting for will definitely impact the price.
So you can't just assume that $25 a day starting price applies all year round.
No, definitely not. They strongly advise contacting them directly phone or email to get an accurate quote and check availability for your specific travel window.
Makes sense. Always best to get a custom quote.
And they also mentioned something interesting for longer stays.
Oh, yeah.
Potential special prices on long-term rentals if you're staying for, say, a month or more.
Who would that be for?
They specifically mention traveling nurses or other health pros, people on work assignments, remote workers setting up shop for a while.
Ah, the digital nomad crowd?
Could be. Or even people who are actually moving to Maui and just need a car temporarily while waiting for their own to arrive by ship.
So they cater to longer-term needs, too. That's useful.
Seems like it. And they provide their contact info again for quotes. The phone is 808-2800-11196, and email is info@mauicarental.biz.
Good to have those handy.
Sure.
And they have an FAQ online, too.
Yep, they suggest checking their website's FAQ for common questions about reservations, payment, how pickup works, all that standard stuff.
Okay. So, summarizing the pricing. Transparent, all-in, quotes, but definitely seasonal, a 10-day minimum for the used cars, and you absolutely need to contact them for your specific dates.
That's the gist of it. Do your homework, reach out directly for the real numbers for your trip.
All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive on renting used, local, smaller cars in Maui, let's quickly recap. It seems like it could be a really smart, budget-friendly, practical way to go, especially maybe for solo travelers. couples.
Yeah, people who are putting the priority on the Maui experience itself, not necessarily on driving the newest car.
And Frank's Friendly Cars, specifically, seems to focus on making sure those used cars are reliable, even if they're older, plus straightforward pricing, which is nice.
And they're addressing those real Maui issues, like the tight parking and the higher gas prices, by recommending those compacts.
Right. So here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on as you plan that trip.
Go for it.
How do your choices about transportation, on vacation, how do they reflect what you really value? Is it about comfort, status maybe, or is it more about stretching that budget to soak up as much of the place as possible?
Interesting question. It forces you to think about priorities.
And maybe even, could choosing something less conventional, like an older, local-looking car, actually make you feel, I don't know, more connected to the place, less like a typical tourist?
Possibly.
Yeah.
A different kind of travel experience.
Yeah. Just something to think about before you hit that book now button for your Maui wheels.